Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. Have a couple of stories for you guys for your news updates. Won't be here before you too long, but nonetheless, let's jump right in. So, in preparation for the upcoming papal conclave, the Vatican has taken extraordinary security measures, including deactivating mobile phone signals and installing signal jammers to prevent leaks. These steps aim to ensure the secrecy and integrity of the process to elect the new pope. Now, of course, this is by the way of Rome and Italy and Vatican all together. I wouldn't normally report on anything like this, but because our commander-in-chief, aka President Donald Trump, has put up a fake image of him being the pope, essentially, an AI generated image of President Trump dressed as a pope has stirred a lot of controversy among a lot of Catholics. Now, while Trump claims it was a harmless joke, religious leaders have condemned the images as disrespectful, especially given its timely shortly after the Pope Francis' funeral ahead of the conclave to elect his successor. Now, and again, President Donald Trump is like no other president in the entire world. I believe this was very insensitive. And when we used to tell a joke and we knew that it was too soon, we used to say, too soon. This wasn't, again, shouldn't have been done, especially by the president. I can see some people who are doing satire on the internet, render certain photos of him, but for him to do it himself and post it is astronomically insensitive of the leader of the so-called free world, the leader of the most powerful country in the world, to do so. That again, in America, we have many different religions. We have Catholicism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. We have all these religions that are protected through civil rights and the Constitution. And President Donald Trump thought it would be funny to put him, AI render himself as the Pope. And if the Pope just died, as if the country, the Vatican, Catholics around the world are not, again, suffering from the death and awaiting a new pope to take his place. Okay, a lot of people being agony. They showed a total world outcry of people crying and being heartfelt of them losing their pope. But again, President Donald Trump, very insensitive. This should have never occurred. Okay, this should have never happened. But I'm pretty sure a lot of us are stating this doesn't surprise us. This doesn't surprise us. Now, in the wake of all of this, President Donald Trump has announced plans to reopen Alcatraz. Now, I reported briefly on this yesterday, but I want to give a more breakdown because this is very expensive. Alcatraz, per prisoner back in the late 50s, early 60s, per prisoner was causing the government $10 per inmate, while other prisons were only costing the government $3 per inmate. As a matter of fact, these other prisons that people were at that was on the mainland and not its own island, they were actually making a profit off of prisoners. That's why the prison industry was so profitable. And that's why a lot of individual or private investors wanted to build their own prison. So again, they can reap the benefits. But Alcatraz was very, very expensive to operate. It was very expensive to run. But nonetheless, President Donald Trump has announced plans to reopen the infamous Alcatraz prison, aiming to house Americans' most dangerous criminals. Critics argue that the facility, closed since 1963 due to high operational costs and deteriorating infrastructure, is now a national park and tourist attraction. Marking the proposal both impractical and symbolic is what a lot of people are stating, even some conservatives. Now, as we look at this prison, now it was for the most dangerous and the most violent criminals in the world. And to double down on that, I just want to show you this quick video because a lot of people are stating that this is political theater, that this is just so the Republicans, the conservatives can win the midterms, the midterms essentially within the next 2 years, so they can have so they can keep control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. That way, the liberals, aka Democrats, can't come in and take the House or take the Senate. So this is what they're stating here on Fox News about President Trump's remarks regarding Alcatraz.
They cannot be saved. They cannot be coached in some better way of living. They are always going to hurt. They are always going to steal. They're always going to attack. And we need a place in this country where we can send people to visually demonstrate their total separation from society. The fact that they're not going to live among us and will never live among us.
Okay, so with that being said, now I'm just going to read what President Trump put on his Truth Social. He says, Stephen Miller, there are people in this country, as President Trump has said, who will do nothing with their lives but rape, maim, and murder. They cannot be rehabilitated. We need a place in this country where we can send people to visually demonstrate their total separation from society. Now, I'm thinking that he's gotten this idea from President Bukele of El Salvador. Since we have an island right here in America that we can house dangerous criminals, okay? I don't know what deems a dangerous criminal. I would like to believe, according to FBI crime data, that anyone who's a violent offender, anyone who's a violent criminal would be the most dangerous, because these are the ones who are assaulting, killing, raping, unaliving people. So the most violent crimes. So then I had to do a deep dive, some bit of a research to see who the ones in America who are committing the most crimes. Not just the most crimes, the most violent crimes, because as the president stated here, we need a place in this country where we can send people to visually demonstrate their total separation from society. Okay. And we're looking at the people, again, who are committing, and as a reporter here from Fox News stated, those who are committing violent crimes. The most violent crimes, rape, murder, aggravated assault, okay, etc. So in my research, very quickly, this is what I found. And this is coming from FBI.gov. White individuals were arrested more often for violent crimes than individuals of any other race, and accounted for roughly 60% of those arrests. So if you have 10 people, that means that 6 of them are white who are committing a great majority of the crime. Now, just to factor in, okay, the next demographics that have been reported with high numbers are Black Americans. So out of that 10, okay, we already have 6 that are white. So we take that 6 away, we have 4 left. I would like to believe that the next, say 40%, 2 of them would be Black, 1 would be Hispanic, and another one would be other race, maybe Asian or Pacific Islander or something like that. So again, according to FBI crime data, white individuals were arrested more often for violent crimes than individuals of other race. Then some people, of course, who tend to side with certain groups of people will say, well, the Black people didn't get caught when they committed the crimes. Well, if you didn't know, Black communities, Black areas are over police, meaning that we have a high presence of police more so than any other group. And these numbers have always been consistently the same. Who's committing the most violent crimes in America, even before or after or during over-policing of certain communities. This is a staggering number that I've been presenting for quite some time, because I want to make sure that the media and social media does not depict certain demographics and certain people in a negative light more so than they should be, instead of leaning on statistics and verifiable evidence of the groups who are committing the most crimes in America. That way we don't get misunderstood, misconstrued of who actually committing the crimes. Because again, we've seen so many inflated and highlighted incidents between Black and white Americans. But some people will state, well, we don't bring up race, then racism will go away. It will not. Can race relations get better? Absolutely. There are some deep conversations that need to be had, and there needs to be some realization of actions of demographics of people from different races and what they do and what they don't do. I don't think those conversations are being had. I don't think those conversations are being had at the level that they should have them. Let's be clear. Black Americans are not and have never been the face of crime in this country. Why do I say that? Because, again, no one likes when someone goes back to slavery and Jim Crow. But again, we have to understand, or at least track the history of Black Americans in this country, what we have done, what we have progressed, what we haven't done, and the way that we are viewed. How there was legislation and laws on the books that hindered Black progress. Nobody wants to talk about it. We just want to talk about, that Black people are the face of crime in America, which isn't true, because the FBI, which is a Caucasian-ran criminal law enforcement organization, and the Department of Justice, and I'm just telling you, the predominantly population of these law enforcement agents are white. And they're telling us that the majority of crimes, the majority of violent crimes committed in America are by white people. Oh, they're just a bunch of liberals. No, they're not just a bunch of liberals. I'm pretty sure there's Republicans, Democrats, and independents. But this is what we are faced with. But thanks to the propaganda machine of America, you'll think we were born to be criminals, entertainers, or some twisted combination of the both. From the first frames of film history, Black folks were typecast. I want you guys to look at The Birth of a Nation in 1915, the movie that glorified the KKKs as heroes and portrayed Black men, many of them in blackface, as rapists and savages. And that film wasn't some fringe hate flick. It was praised by President Woodrow Wilson and shown in the White House. That's how deep this rock goes. This is how deep the depiction of Black Americans in this country, that we're the face of crime in this country, where some of you guys have Black friends that are phenomenal, but given in the right environment, in the right circumstance, you'll turn your nose up and turn your back to the same people you say are friend and are friendly, because of the hyperbolic environment when it comes to the depiction of one group of people. The same group of people that built the very foundation of this country, that has innovated and created inventions to progress not only America, but the world itself. Whereas though we built the first railroad in America, but they would like to say the Chinese. Nope, the Chinese came 60 some odd years later, after the railroad was built on the eastern seaboard from north to south. Go look it up. Black Americans were the first one to build the railroad. We're the first one to dig the roads and pave the roads. The Irish and the Chinese came much later, and that's just the truth of the matter. We're talking about the very foundation, the first this, the first that. We were there because guess what? We were the workforce of America, either in slavery or right out of slavery, because a lot of Black Americans went right back to the plantations that there were slaves on, because now the slave owners, the slave masters, had to pay them after the Emancipation Proclamation. And guess what? We had the skills of blacksmiths and woodsmiths and building houses and things of that nature. I learned a lot when I took a tour to New Orleans, and I went to an actual plantation. I believe I showed a video right here on Blacklogic. You guys may have to comb through the many videos that I have, but nonetheless, I showed that video, and it's very imperative that we have that, because again, the numbers have been consistently the same throughout the years. But this is the way that we are portrayed. And again, it was praised by President Woodrow Wilson and shown in the White House. That is how deep this, and this is how far back this goes. And yet, let's look at the facts. White Americans commit more violent crimes than any other group consistently. According to FBI crime data, white individuals have made up the largest percentage of offenders in categories like assault, rape, and arson for decades. assault, rape, and arson. Because a lot of the things that were burning and bombarding, they were burning black towns. They were burning black houses. And still to this day, they still lead the charts in 2023 to 2025. But do you see white people depicted as inherently criminal? Again, yes, they will show white criminals on television. But I want you to listen in what I'm asking you here. Do you see white people depicted as inherently criminal like they do us? No, because America doesn't criminalize whiteness. It packages and sells it. When white people form gangs, they call mobs and mafias or cartels. They get slick suits, intense origin stories, and major motion pictures with Oscar buzz. The Godfather, Scarface, The Sopranos, all portray white violence as strategic, charismatic, and even honorable. You guys seen it. They make it look glorious, even though a lot of them die in these films, but they make it look sensible. But when black communities form protection groups like the Black Panther Party, they brand them as terrorists. But when Italian or Irish crime syndicates blew up buildings, ran racketeering rings, and flooded cities with drugs, they were cinematic and anti-heroes. But when black youth are portrayed doing the same, it's not art, it's evidence. Look at the shows like Cops, Law and Order, or countless 90s urban crime dramas, all pumping images of black males being chased, cuffed, and thrown in cages. And that's no accident. That's programming. That's getting you used to black people being harmed, being brutalized, being handcuffed, being shackled, being thrown in jails. That's programming so the public don't have an outcry, so the public does not pitch to the humanitarian associations around the world to say, look at what these people are doing to these group of people. First, they have to make black folk in the court of public opinion to first look bad and then show 1% of black society who are criminals, who are doing the worst of the worst, as if that is representing all of black America, as if we're a monolith. Like there's no upstanding black people. And unless they turn to the other side and start to spew white ideology altogether. I'm just giving you a depiction of how things have been looking for a very long time. Because if we enter what's now called ratchet culture, where blackness is often sold as chaos, dysfunction, and ghetto glamour, media moguls greenlight reality shows and rape videos that reinforce stereotypes of black women fighting. I want you guys to think about the Diddy cases going on right now. Have you known there have been other multi-billionaire white men who have some of the same alleged charges against them, that has not spent a year in jail behind bars, who has not been put on the no-fly list, who are just living their lives, but still going through court proceedings where it's not as highlighted, even though some of these men, some of these multi-billionaires are CEOs and founders of Fortune 500 companies. But you don't see them getting gaslit like P. Diddy. Now, I'm not taking anything away what P. Diddy has allegedly done or have not done. I'm just saying that there's another demographic of people who are multi-billionaires in the same status as P. Diddy, but with a different skin tone that is not being treated the same. Because they would like to show black men throwing cash and neighborhoods overrun with violence while ignoring the truth. These are curated performances, controlled images that are manufactured chaos. I want you guys to think about our great master brother, Neely Fuller. Neely Fuller warned us, if you do not understand white supremacy, everything else will confuse you, because everybody would like to put things in a silo. As if, no, There's no connection of how Black people are today and how they once were. Like our forefathers and ancestors didn't go through anything. Like our great grandfathers and great grandmothers and grandmothers and etc. haven't went through anything. And how that is not still occurring today. And I understand our great master teacher, Neely Fuller, stating that if you do not understand white supremacy, then everything else will confuse you. And a lot of people are saying, what is this white supremacy? You're trying to say white people are more superior than Black people? No. You're thinking with a carnal mind. You're thinking very small, very minute, very minuscule. No, it's not about comparing white people to Black people and who is more superior. We're talking about people who are in control of systems. We're talking about people who are in control of the environment. We're talking about people who are in control of media and social, in the social environment and platforms that we operate and that we work on. That's what we're talking about. They own and operate that, and they can take both sides. One day they can be praising a group of people who are non-white, and then in the same breath they can be demonizing them. Well, look at this great Black person, but the majority of them are criminals. That's what I'm getting at. It's not about one group of people, one race of people being superior in intelligence, being superior in physical prowess. It's not about that. See, some people are trying to be like, ain't no white man superior over me. And then you'll have some people come out and state, well, you know, why do you believe that white people are more superior than Black folk? It's not about intelligence, whether it be emotional or not. It's not about physical prowess or characteristics or attributes of any nature. It's about the systems, the very systems that they control, and they can will it however they want to will it, especially when we talk about justice in America. If someone can point out to me in comparisons of a white and a Black person being charged in the same state, in the same courtroom, the same crime, okay, they didn't commit them together, and they receive the same sentencing, that would be staggering. That would be mind-blowing. I'm not saying that hasn't happened, but again, we're talking about the art of numbers. Because let's take, for instance, you have a white person, Black person, same conditions, same everything, same height, same weight. Everything is the same. The crime is the same. Where they committed the crime, the same. And I want you to think about 10 white people going up on charges and 10 Black people going up on charges. I will put my last dollar that the most favorable outcome of the sentencing would be on the white side versus the Black. And then some people will say, well, you don't see law, you don't see justice as unbiased. You don't see it neutrally. I do. I'm just going based upon the statistics. Because if we don't base it off of statistics, then we are just shouting rhetoric, side speak, word salad that means nothing. We don't have anything that's verifiable with evidence. And that's what we have statistics from our federal and state law enforcement agencies that is telling us this very same information. That is where we are. Because if we were to rewind history, who actually built America? I let the cat out the bag. Black Americans. Foundational Black Americans. We were the architects of the land. Enslaved people built the Capitol building, the White House, the railroad systems, and the Cotton Empire that made America an economic superpower. We didn't destroy the country. We built it brick by brick. Black engineers like Benjamin Banneker, who laid out Washington, D.C., or Granville T. Woods, who revolutionized railways. Black hands forged America highways, laid pipes, erected cities, all while being lynched, segregated, and vilified. When we demand rights, they call us radicals. Oh, you guys already have all the rights. You got civil rights, you got affirmative action, and you got DEI. And DEI didn't benefit Black folk. It benefited white men and white women. And every other group before Black Americans. Look it up. The Department of Labor put that cat out the bag. And when we protected ourselves, they called us militants. When we entertained the world from jazz to hip hop, they clapped, they copied, then they cashed in. Figures like Malcolm X, who famously stated, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman, or Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, who exposed how white supremacy invades the subconscious through media, predicted this reality decades ago. Now, even in recent decades, Black excellence have been hidden under the weight of labels like thug, ratchet, or welfare queen, where I've already let the cat out of the bag with that. The majority of people who are on welfare are white women. All invented tropes, all these invented tropes had one goal. All these invented tropes had one goal, and that is to devalue the truth of who we are. I look at another great master teacher, John Henry Clark, once said, they will never teach you your true history, because if you knew who you were, you'll know what you're capable of. Let's not forget the legislation we bled for. From the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to the Fair Housing Act, those didn't come through begging. That came through marching, resisting, and organizing. It was the Black freedom movement, the civil rights movement, the Black Liberation Army, and the Black Panther Party that forced America to live up to its supposed values. They want us boxed into entertainment for their entertainment, football, basketball, comedy, acting. Because if the world really sees us for what we are as inventors, scientists, legislators, and freedom fighters. You guys remember, what's his name? Wes Moore, the one who made the water atmospheric machine that grabs, that literally extracts water from the atmosphere into potable drinking water. Remember Wes Moore? Remember that gentleman? He sent this machine to Flint, Michigan to give those brothers and sisters fresh, cleaning waters. We're still inventing and innovating till this day. They don't want the world to see us in our true form as inventors, scientists, and legislators, and most important of all, freedom fighters. The lie crumbles. You see, propaganda is more powerful than any bullet. Propaganda is behind every infame, ill will thing that you guys see on TV about one particular group, majority. Propaganda is a very powerful machine. And America's most effective weapon has been the demonization of Blackness. But we're here to reclaim our narrative. We are not criminals. We are creators. We are not the threat. We are the builders. We are not the problem. We are the solution that history has tried to bury. So the next time someone asks, why are Black people portrayed like that? I want you to tell them it's not the truth. It's the lie that protects the myth of white innocence. And the truth is Black America has given more to this country than it has ever received. And now it's time for the world to see the truth. Raw, uncut, and unapologetically Black. That is what they're afraid of. Because when I look at certain instances, certain stories, and certain things that have occurred throughout, and this is, again, I'm just going to show you this, okay? And this is about Walter Scott. And I know that all of you guys have already seen this, but I just want to give you how Black Americans are treated in this country, even when we are fleeing unarmed from the police.
Fucking abuse.
All right. If you guys are not familiar with the Walter Scott story, supposedly, allegedly, the black male in question, or the one who essentially got murdered unarmed, took the taser, again, allegedly took the taser of the police officer and then started to run away from the police officer. So at this time, it looks as though he's 10 feet away, 15 feet away during this interaction. He's quite a distance. But the police officer stated that he feared for his life. That is why he opened fire on this gentleman who was unarmed. Then appeared to drop something, that, again, after they kind of did the investigation. Look at this. Look at the distance in between. Look at the distance in between this. Let me back it up just a little bit here. Okay, so he breaks away from the police officer, or it seems to be that way. I know it's kind of blurry. Okay, and he already has his gun out and he's running away. What threat is this man? What threat does this man have on the police officer? Absolutely zero. I know that you guys are all already familiar with that, so I'll just move on. Now, according to the FBI Crime Data Explorer here, the year of 23, murder was down almost 12%, rape almost down 10%, robbery 0.3%, aggravated assault down 3%. So we had a decrease when it comes to certain violent crimes across America. When it came to motor vehicle theft, that was up almost 13%. So crime in America seem as though, in some regards, have decreased. Why am I reporting on this? Because I'm just curious about why we're trying to reopen Alcatraz. If crime in America has decreased and we have closed prisons, then why are we trying to reopen Alcatraz? That's the only question I have. That's the only question I have. Now, the Trump administration is offering financial incentives to immigrants to voluntarily leave the U.S. And as I reported yesterday, $1,000. And this move has sparked debate over its ethical and economic implications. Additionally, the White House has walked back plans for a film tariff, indicating a shift in trade policy that could impact the entertainment industry altogether. So again, we're paying immigrants to leave. It's like, again, they're holding us hostage and we're paying a ransom. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has announced a significant reduction in the number of high-ranking officers in the U.S. military, aiming to improve operational effectiveness and reduce unnecessary overhead. The move includes a 20% cut in four-star positions and a 10% overall reductions in general and flag officers. I can understand why. Now, if you guys are a veteran, if you guys been in the military like myself, generals are treated like presidents in the military. Generals have their own set of rules, their own set of policies and regulations that they hear about, but they are chauffeured around. They're highly protected. And, you know, being on the ground, being troops on the ground, we understand that, you know, generals are in the capacity of strategic warfare, where they're lobbying to Congress for maybe more support, more money. Maybe they're strategizing how we attack certain positions on a very high level. Again, generals are way up there, because usually colonels are really doing the strategizing of war. They go to war colleges. If you're enlisted, you go to battle staff, and this is according to the Army. But nonetheless, I'm pretty sure there's this many generals that stand in 60. You know, there's a lot of generals who are in their 60s, because again, they don't have any uniform regulations. They don't have any weight restrictions. They can be as fat or as small they want to be. And we probably have a lot of overhead of generals just sitting in positions collecting, $150,000, $200,000 where they don't have to pay for anything. And they live in maybe base houses in mansions. They live a very good life. And again, we probably just have generals that just email all day. They don't really have. They have a lot of administrative generals who are not in really any vital capacity. So, do I believe there's a lot of overhead when it comes to these high flag, high ranking positions? Absolutely. So again, I think this is probably another ploy of fraud, waste, and abuse. Not saying that the generals are part of that, but of just cutting a lot of positions in the government together who are paying people who are not really in any capacity that's making a difference. And again, with depending on how many people, how many generals that they cut, how many flag officers that they cut, they can plus size the military of lower ranking people. Share off those basic numbers. So again, when I look at it, initially, I don't see it as a bad thing. I'm just waiting to see again how this is going to turn out, how they're going to reorg the hierarchy when it comes to those generals who are in place, who's actually in charge of commands. Now, last but not least, I want you guys to give me your thoughts in the comment section after the video is posted here. But I want you guys to listen on this, and this is about a fighter. He's a black fighter who fought against a Ukrainian boxer. Now, what's important about this is that the Ukrainian boxer sent this black fighter a box of bananas and a watermelon. Now, he is all the way in Ukraine. And this is what I was talking about, that when America goes out and we try to support these different countries, we're supporting countries who have historically been racist against Black Americans, who has been historically racist against Black people around the globe. And Ukraine is one of them. I reported on this last year sometime, not with this particular story, about the racism that Black folk, more so from the African continent, was enduring racist acts in Ukraine. And here we are, this is a Black American fighter, and this Ukrainian fighter sent him a box of bananas and watermelons. White supremacy doesn't exist just in America. It's a system that operates worldwide. I want you guys to listen on it and give me your thoughts.
I want to address the fact that this guy came to America to give me bananas and watermelon with a note on it. It's unprofessional, and I feel like it's racist, and you just made this fight a little more personal. And this man brought a box of bananas and a watermelon, and I took it as racist. So I got something for you. I've been doing this bare knuckle shit outside the ring. So all that shit you talk about, I don't care. I'm gonna fuck you up Friday. I'm gonna fuck you up Friday.
This is rude language, my brother.
And hit him downstairs to the body. That's where it's at. There it is. That's the biggest target. You see Keyshawn right there, staying composed on the inside there, getting loose, not giving up his hands. Liver sits right there where he landed, right there. You see him dig that shot up. Perfect. Over.
It is a knockout victory. Hey, Norfolk, Virginia, your young man just did it. And the new WBO lightweight champion of the world, the businessman, Keyshawn